I realized that I forgot to turn on my lights. Sorry about that. Hi, it's Chris Chun. It is your This Week in Real Estate. And I come to you today with the three things. First thing is that we'll talk about the National Association Realtor settlement again and the mandatory written agreements that we are required to have to open a door, to show houses, to list a house, obviously required a listing agreement before, but what has changed and what is still going to be mostly the same. Want to talk about inflation and that's impact on interest rates and what to expect for the second half of the year as we are moving forward to the fall. So first, let's start off with the National Association of Realtors changes, and really kind of talking about the buyer changes up front now, because we talked a little bit about the seller changes last time, and I want to talk about the buyer changes of what's going on. So in the past, everybody said, and I use the big air quotes there, that the sellers pay all the commissions. That did not come out from the buyer, and that is technically true. It was part of a negotiation that was in a listing agreement on how much the buyer's agents were going to be compensated. That is no longer the case. So now every buyer has to, before showing houses, has to sign, it is the law, they have to sign a written buyer representation agreement. And in that representation agreement, it talks about broker compensation for the buyer's agent. And that number is and has always been flexible and negotiable. The issue that I have with the seller, the statement of the seller paying the buyer's agreement, is it's always been the way where I am emphatic about it, that the buyers have always been able to incorporate the commissions in the cost of the house. And that's what we're going to do moving forward as well. We are going to negotiate on your behalf for the cost of the commissions to be included in the purchase price of the house. This has been the reason why I say that the buyers have always been doing this and always been paying it. Is when the buyer buys a house, they put all their money into escrow, the mortgage goes into escrow, and then the seller gets paid. But the seller didn't get paid the whole amount, and then the seller writes a check to one broker and writes a check to the other broker. That money goes into escrow, and then from that money in escrow, the escrow company pays out the two brokers at the end of the transaction. That's what's been happening for the last countless years, and it will be the same going forward, where money will be put into escrow from the buyer, and that money will be paid out to all the other parties, the seller, the seller's agent, and the buyer's agent. But the biggest change now is that we have to have that agreement for all of our buyers in writing prior to seeing houses, prior to writing contracts. And that is going to be part of the negotiations that we've always been having in real estate for the purchase price of the houses and part of the terms. Now I want to talk to you about the interest rates and inflation of where we are going right now, because the inflation rate for July came out this week at 2.9%. That was very good news. We saw interest rates are now at their lowest level of 2024, and they are expecting that will go down even further. We're expecting to see a half a point, maybe 0.25 points, maybe a half a point down, lowering by the Fed in September. And that is going to likely be leading to at least another quarter of a point to half a point lowering in the remainder of the year. I believe that the Fed is going to lower rates a quarter of a point in September, probably do a quarter of a point in October, and another quarter of a point in November. Because if they lowered a half a point right off the bat, I think it's going to show that they waited too long to lower rates, so they're going to just spread it out a little bit. But the expectation from everybody is that we're going to see the 0.75 reduction in interest rates by the end of the year from the Fed. That has been very good news. We've already seen mortgages prior to the September rate reduction. We've already seen mortgages down a full half a point, and there's pressure on those mortgages to continue to move down for the remainder of the year. And that is very good news for buyers. It's also very good news for sellers, because what it's going to do is keep the activity heightened as we start to go into a time of the year where it's typically slower. They're going to see more buyers, more demand come into the marketplace, in my opinion, this fall, because rates are going to be coming down. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day.